Hi everyone, welcome. Isn't it an amazing time where you can actually sit at home and hear Richard Branson, Jeff Bezos? They're flying up into space, and I think our next special guest is just about to join the duo. What is happening? Look at how much things are changing when you're a progressive, when you can think out of your box. Let me tell you about our special guest, Naveen Jain. Naveen Jain is the founder and CEO of Veomi, something we'll be talking a lot about today, where he is focused on disrupting healthcare with the goal of making illness a matter of choice. He's also the founder of Moon Express, which is the only company ever to receive permission from the government to land on the moon. Can you believe that? Naveen is an intensely curious entrepreneur who's just not afraid to take on the audaciousness and his great ideas that will push humanity forward. As a serial entrepreneur, don't you love that? A serial entrepreneur. He previously founded InfoSpace, Intellius, and TalentWise, and he has been the recipient of many honors for his entrepreneurial success. It gives me great pleasure to welcome our sweet brother Naveen Jain. Welcome, Naveen.
Well, Sister Jenna, it's an honor to be with you. Just your presence, even on the screen, delights our soul.
I want you to take me up to space when you're going. That's all I got to say.
Well, I think we're going to talk about that. We really are. There is no space. It's all relative. We are in space already. So if you were living on the moon, people who are living on the earth, they're going to say, look, they live in space. Someday we want to go to the earth.
This is true. This is true. We are actually in space. You're so right. So listen, let's talk about you. You started out as a child growing up in rural India, immigrating to the United States. You finished your MBA in India, but you're now an extremely successful entrepreneur. And can I redefine my interpretation of success to you? It's not about how much money you have, but it's how many lives you've impacted. That's for me what success is. But tell us a little bit about, did you ever envision that you would be where you are right now?
Sister, it is very rarely in life you can chart a path and know where you're going to be at a certain point of time. Most of the time when you read the history books, they are rewritten from the past. They get rewritten based on what has happened rather than actually as a prediction of what is going to happen. To some extent, your life is nothing but a strings of experiences we have every single day. Every interaction you and I have or we have with anyone else changes who we are. And as those incremental changes are happening, one day we find ourselves completely transformed. And then people ask you, what was that moment that changed you? And it's easy to say that was the last straw that broke the camel's back. But we all know it is not the last straw that breaks the camel's back. It is all the other straws that have been collected along the way that breaks the camel's back, right? So to me, when we ask ourselves, what is it that you did that caused you to be here? And the answer is really nothing. You enjoy every minute of it as if that was the last minute you're going to live. You every day when you wake up in the morning, you feel blessed. And I tell you that I get up every morning, Sister Jenna, every morning at 4 a.m. I jump out of the bed because I believe I have been chosen to do the God's work. The things I am doing are making an impact on people's lives. How can you not feel blessed? When I look at you, the work that you do, and you do it so selflessly, right? To me, there is no one who deserves more honor than a soul like you who just by their presence makes people's life better, makes their movement better. They are dedicated their lives to doing things not for themselves, but for rest of humanity. And those souls are the ones at the end of the day, when we are taking our last breath, is going to remind us that we lived a fulfilled life, or we simply lived a life for someone else, or for the things we are leaving behind that didn't matter to begin with, right? And to
Mm.
me, all we take back are those memories and experiences with the people and whose life we touched. And when you are dying, they are the only one who will actually remember you for, and they're going to actually miss you. The money that you leave behind is not going to miss you. It is going to find its way in someone else's pocket, and we're going to miss you, the lives and souls you touched.
Yeah, it's so interesting, beautiful. You're such an inspiring character, and thank you so much for gifting me with your good wishes and blessings as well. You know, faith, determination, tenacity, courage, these are all spiritual qualities. What has been the role of spirituality in your own life?
The spirituality is such a misunderstood word. People tend to think of spirituality as religious or religion, or something to do with something that is extraordinary. It is not something that should be part of your life. To me, your soul is your spirit. Anything that you deal with your soul and spirit is, and with the ritual of making sure you're enriching it every single day. So spirituality is simply about enriching your spirit or enriching your soul, whether you're doing it intellectually, emotionally, or just simply growing up to be having that wisdom that transforms not just you and your soul, but every single soul that connects with you. You exude that energy that puts out that things in the universe. And as we know, we are all interconnected. And we have created this, our eyes and our sensors fool ourselves into believing that I am different than you, because we have this physical thing that we look like Sister Jenna is a different person than me, because our physical bodies are different. But when you look at it at a more atomic level, we are nothing but bunch of atoms. And you look at the atoms, they're a bunch of electrons and protons. And you look at underneath them, they're quarks. Underneath quarks, we are simply the waveform. And if you are a waveform, I'm a waveform. We are all interconnected in this universe. So what you do impacts me. So the fact that you enrich your soul, and when I am in your presence, guess what? Your soul is enriching my soul. And that's the reason we say that you become the person, the five people you're closest to. Why do we say that? Because we enrich each other's souls in a close presence of each other.
It can be scary depending on who the five people are that you're living with. Do you ever look at somebody with the consciousness of, I'm looking at molecules and atoms and waves?
I look at this stuff and saying, what is it that we lack when we are not in the physical presence of each other? And people say somehow that we have been transformed. The Zoom is going to transform who we are, and we no longer will need to meet people. And I find that to be that missed energy and connection. We can call that whatever words we want to put in. The fact, when I am in your presence, and I can tell you, when I was in the presence of His Holiness Dalai Lama, he doesn't need to speak a word. You just simply feel relaxed. What is it? You can't do that on Zoom. So that energy is simply comes in a close physical presence of each other. So to me, when I am in a presence of someone who is so selfless, I think
Yes,
you and
yes,
I can both feel it. What
yes,
was it
yes.
in, if you look at these people with the spirituality, we always have that sense of peacefulness. Just in their presence, you feel peace. What is that?
Yeah.
Let's call that whatever you want. The energy, universe, molecules, whatever you want.
It's a consciousness, no? It's the You
Yeah.
get to sense the quality of that soul's thoughts that they've been nurturing over a long period of time. You know, they always say you become what you've thought of the most. And if somehow your presence doesn't emanate some, that essence of the true sense of yourself, that means maybe you've been so caught up in matter more than the soul, the spirit, the spiritual. And that's okay. And that's okay. The question is, can we find a balance? You know, there's been a division between science and
Yeah.
spirituality, with some viewing science as fact based and spirituality as faith based. But in many ways, the two have been moving closer together. What are your thoughts about this in terms of their ways of thinking and explaining the world?
I think, Sister Jenna, I think we may have touched on this subject in our previous conversation when I was suggesting that somehow the science and religion, for the first time, are actually saying the same thing except using different words, right? So one is speaking French and one is speaking English, but they're both saying the same thing. So think about what the religion says. Religion says there is a creator, your destiny is pre-written, right? And now look at what the scientist says. We are living in this matrix, which is there is a programmer who programmed that, and you are simply an algorithm living that algorithm. What are we saying? A programmer is the creator, algorithm is your destiny that's pre-written, and now we are all living that. Now, isn't that amazing that we both somehow think the science that is fact-based is talking about us living in a matrix that is designed and pre-written, and the religion is talking about a creator, and we say, but we can't see the creator, we don't see the programmer either, but we believe in it, right? And so my point I'm trying to make is that at the end of the day, the mystique of the science is the really the spirituality, which is we don't understand it. When we don't understand it, we call it mythical, and we call that somehow that it is spiritual, right? But guess what? As we learn that spirituality becomes reality and it becomes science, right? People used to wonder, how can you communicate with each other, the extrasensory perception? And now we know we can have a neural link type of thing where brains can in fact be connected and actually communicate over these at the wireless signals. So sometimes you have to believe we will become interconnected souls where we'll be able to communicate in a way that has never been possible. And suddenly everything that we talk about, having a one great consciousness, and each one of us are simply a manifestation or instantation of that consciousness, that simply when we die goes away and becomes part of the global consciousness. And when we get recreated, we are using exactly the same set of energy to recreate. So when you talk about reincarnation, what is that? Using the same energy to recreate manifestation of the global consciousness. So to me, I think it's just so similar. And maybe I'm just hallucinating, but to me, they all look the same to me.
Same, brother. Trust me, they are. It's just that one has the fact based concept, and there is fact based too, in spirituality, because you can see it in the behavior of someone. And it's a fact. This is true. So there's fact based in both. Well, you've had the background experience of software engineering, and you started Moon Express, which is a company that's been given permission to harvest resource from the moon. How did you get the courage to start business in a niche that's so unfamiliar to you? And what is the importance of space exploration?
So first of all, Sister Jenna, I have no software expertise either. So if my academic background has nothing to do with software, it has nothing. In fact, I had never seen a computer in my life before I ended up doing computer programming, because someone thought brown guys have to be good at computer programming. So they just said, hey, why can't you do that? And even though I had never seen a computer in my life. So to me, what I really found is that once you become an expert at anything, you become incrementalist. That means you can make it 10% better than anyone else in the world. But what you can't do is to make something 10 times better unless you are a non-expert. So when you are really looking at a problem as a naive and novice, you are able to challenge the foundation of what experts have taken it for granted. And that's the reason a lot of the time people call that a beginner's luck. Well, the luck comes to those who think differently, right? And so my point is that beginner's luck is nothing but looking at the problem in a different way than every expert has done that, right? And to me, every time I start a company, I always look at a different industry that I know nothing about, because that allows me to revisit and rethink the problem, not outside the box, but in a completely different box. And that is what allows you to come up with the solutions that were never possible before. Now, to answer your question specifically about what is it about space exploration that is suddenly becoming this buzz and everyone is going gaga over it. Well, we as humans are fundamentally explorers, right? We grew up in the savannas of Africa and we found the 7 continents on the planet Earth and we explored everything. And when we start to look up, when we look up to the moon is nothing but our 8th continent, right? We want to explore these new frontiers. And when you start to look at, even from a business perspective, all of the resources that we are so proud of what we have on planet Earth, at the end of the day, our planet Earth is nothing but a tiny invisible dot, even in our solar system. You couldn't see Earth in our solar system as you go further along, right? Our solar system is invisible in our galaxy. Our galaxy couldn't be seen even in a Milky Way. And a Milky Way is probably invisible in our universe. And a universe may be invisible into this multiverse. So when we talk about all the resources that are on planet Earth, imagine the abundance of resources that are out there. So why would we be fighting over land, water, and energy when there is so abundance of it all over? And to me, it just shows that if we as humans start to believe we can be part of this multiverse, then where is that scarcity that allows us to say, this land is my land, this water is my water, it is abundant for everyone? Why can't we think of it as air? It is plenty for everyone, so let's all enjoy.
Just one of the things I love about you is your vast openness about possibilities. You know, you just don't think anything is impossible. I saw a post you placed on LinkedIn. I think it was right after either Jeff or Richard went to space, and you said, I bought my ticket, me and my son, 10 years ago. See you there soon. And I know that there's a curiosity about exploring the more in life. And I have to tell you, some people have been making comments about billionaires going up into space, and I've turned to each of these people and I go, what's the problem? Let them enjoy the way they want to spend their money now. Something might be coming out of this. What is the problem? I found that people tend to seem so unappreciative of individuals who've reached a particular caliber or that 1 to 5%. Have you ever felt any sense of like a pushback from people, knowing you know how hard you worked, you knew what you did to get to where you are, but have you ever felt like, what's wrong with people? Why do they always have to make a comment about somebody who has made it?
So, I mean, we need to unpack it because there is a lot of it that you just said there. the one thing I look at this stuff is almost every new technology when it comes out, it looks like it is for rich and people, right? So remember way back when the cell phones came out, these were for the big Wall Street billionaires who needed to have those big bulky cell phones. And eventually the technology brings the prices down where the person in the Messiah tribe in Africa can now have a cell phone and they have access to the same set of information that the president does. The Google is available to everyone, and now there is no one who can't be empowered, right? So point is the technology becomes empowering, and in the beginning it looks like it's for rich people. So today it may look like it is for privilege, but that is what allows the technology to continue to bring the price down. At the end of
Love
the
that.
day, once the rockets become reusable. Think about it. Now we have reusable rocket. That means they can go up and down as many times. The marginal cost of going up is simply the cost of the fuel. Right? That
Mm,
is literally now can become so cheap that almost everybody will be able to afford it. But guess what? To monetize the research and development work, you take the let the rich people pay to bring the technology cost down so everyone else can afford it. Now, to
mm,
answer your other question, when people look at you because you're successful, thinking that somehow you become different person, the point is, to large extent, you have to believe in who you are. Once you start what I would call self love, when you start to find peace in your own soul and your own skin, what someone else thinks of you, it doesn't matter. And I think there was
yes.
someone who was really high wisdom who says, when we are in 20s, we worry about what everyone else thinks of us. When we in our 40s, we stop caring what they think of us. And when we get to our 60s, we realize nobody was ever thinking of us anyway. And we were just caught up in
That's
that.
so
So
true.
the point I'm trying to make is, so yeah, I have come to that point where I say, look, I need to do the things that bring peace and to my happiness. My happiness has to come from inside me. The minute you start to believe something or someone brings you happiness, what you have done is given the remote control of your happiness to someone else who decides Sister Jenna happy, Sister Jenna unhappy. So guess what? You bring the happiness to yourself and then you share that happiness with the world. And to me, that is how I look at the success, as you said very eloquently early enough, is never going to be defined by how much money we have in our bank. Is going to be defined by how many lives we are able to improve. And the only way we know we have become successful is the day you become humble, is the day you become successful. And that humility you have, Sister Jenna, shows that you have truly achieved that great success, because you no longer have to prove to anyone else. And the day you stop proving is the day you become successful.
Wow, bravo, beautiful. You know, talking about inventions or just talking about improving the lives of others, last year I went through a very serious health opportunity. I'm happy to say I handled it with grace and with spiritual integrity, which I'm so happy that I did. And then I came across a project that you were working on. This was before the FDA approved it. After it approved it, I was like, wow, he's done it. So you've got this new project, this new company called Veomi. But listen, everyone, it's focusing on disrupting the healthcare with the goal of making illness a matter of choice. Now that's huge because you're looking at the trillions of dollars that are being spent each year on trying to take care of our health. What if we found a tool that can guide us into how to eat and be better in taking care of our physical well-being, which will impact our emotional well-being, can shift us. And so here you are now moving into another venture. As you said, you enter into things you know nothing about. Healthcare might be one of them. Tell me a little bit about the spiritual awakening behind Veomi.
So, Sister Jenna, this is more than the trillions of dollars that are spent on our healthcare. To me, what drove me was billions of people suffering every day from these diseases that are preventable. So I am not talking about infectious diseases that you wake up one morning and you have flu or cold or God forbid COVID, right? These are infectious diseases. Despite how much pain they cause when that happens, these pandemics are once in 100-year problem. Like remember the last pandemic was 1980, the 18, the Spanish flu, right? So however, we as humanity have this epidemic of chronic diseases. Epidemic of these chronic diseases is, today people are becoming obese, people have diabetes, people have heart diseases, people have depression, people have anxiety, people have cancers, right? And if you look at it, we as humans haven't really changed in the last 50 years. It's not as suddenly our genes have evolved to develop all these diseases. It is simply the matter of environment we live in, the food we eat is causing us to develop these diseases, and these diseases are preventable and reversible, and they don't happen overnight. So it's not like one day you come home and say, sweetie, last night I was out with the boys, I think I caught diabetes. No, it's not. You wake up in the morning and you catch obesity. My wife would say, no, honey, you have not got obesity. You have been fat for 10 years. So just get used to it. Right? Point is, these diseases take tens of years before you see the symptom. And our thinking was when I started Viome was, what if we can prevent these diseases from happening in the first place? And we thought we are living in these probably the most innovative decade in the human history. It is the best time to be alive, where we are able to understand the human biology at a molecular level. And what if we can find out what is causing people to be sick? And what if we can tell them, don't eat this food, even though you may think it is healthy, and it may be healthy for your wife or for your neighbor, but it may be actually harming you. And that is literally our whole purpose to start Viome was to analyze each individual, tell them, don't eat this food because it is harming you because of this reason. Eat this food because it's going to help you because of this reason. Everything is personalized and precise just for you, right? So for me, when I did the first time test, it tells me don't eat broccoli. I'm thinking, wow, broccoli is healthy. Why would it? It says, Mr. Jain, you have very high sulfide production in your gut. And when you eat broccoli, the sulfate in the broccoli is producing a lot of sulfide that's causing inflammation in your gut, and you need to cut it down. Don't eat spinach because you're not able to digest spinach because your oxalate that's very high in spinach is not being digested. And I have to admit, when I started the company 5 years ago, I say, that can't be right. Popeye told me the spinach is healthy for everyone. It's got to be right. So I'm going to eat spinach because Popeye can't be wrong. And it told me clearly that if you keep eating spinach, you're going to get a kidney stone. 2 years later,
Wow.
got a
You
kidney
got
stone.
kidney
Got a
stone.
kidney stone.
Wow.
Guess what? I say, you know what? I got to really, really listen now. And,
Wow.
having gone through that exercise, now I follow. It tells me don't eat these foods, why eat these foods, and why. And by the way, here are the nutrients your body is lacking. Every day you need 22 milligram of curcumin, you need 17 milligram of elderberry, you need 19 milligram of amylase, you need 17 milligram of protease. And guess what? We make those capsules with those ingredients, with that dosage for each individual, and ship
Wow.
them to them. And as their body changes, we change the ingredient and the dosage for them. And that,
Wow.
to me, that personalization and precision, Sister Jenna did amazing thing. So this is
Wow.
what I feel when I wake up in the morning, why I feel so blessed. We did a study. of about 300,000 people that are actually using our service now. And we found that 97% told us they lose weight, they sleep
Wow.
better, they no longer have bloating and the gas and the constipation and diarrhea and stomach pain. They, in fact, have more energy, they don't have brain fog, and all the skin issues are gone. And I suddenly remembered what my mother used to tell my sister, the beauty comes from inside. And what she was
Mm.
telling her was, fix your gut and your skin will get fixed, right? That is really is what we are learning is when you fix the inflammation in your gut, all these things we call depression and anxiety and the diseases just go away. So we proved and we published the paper, Sister Jenna, which shows that simply in 4 months, people who follow our take our supplements and follow our food recommendations, their IBS, which is 15% of all population, this is stomach ache, gas, bloating, digestive issues. 15% of the population suffers from it. We are able to reduce the clinical score by 40% in 4 months.
Amazing.
Depression by 36%, anxiety by 32%, diabetes by 30%. Now, if that does not warm your heart, waking up that you're making difference in people's lives. And I think the other thing we did is now that we started to do the prevention, we decided that some people are going to come to us too late. Then what? Then we said we have to be able to diagnose them very early so they while the diseases are still curable. So we started looking at cancer and say, can we detect it before anyone has ever done so we can actually help them not have to
Especially
go
if it's
through these
hereditary.
serious.
Especially if it's hereditary, right? Then you
Yeah,
can definitely
yeah,
help that
yeah.
person to not take that route.
But actually, even if it is lifestyle, for example, oral cancer, lung cancer, throat cancer, these are lifestyle. People smoking, people chewing tobacco, people vaping, all these things. What we did was we were able to see just by looking at your spit. We were able to diagnose the stage one throat cancer and stage one oral cancer. So we went to FDA and we proved it to
Wow.
them that we can detect it with 97% specificity. And the first time they awarded us a breakthrough device designation. That means it is so breakthrough, it is going to change people's lives. And
Mm.
then we start to look at colorectal cancer and the autoimmune disease. And we found exactly what was causing it. And we went to GSK and said, can you develop a vaccine to prevent from people from having these cancer and autoimmune disease? And can we reverse them while they are still in the early stage? And now we are working on a vaccines for them. And now, Sister Jenna, you're going to be so proud of what we're doing. We are now working on Alzheimer and mild cognitive
Oh,
impairment. We are working on periodontitis because that is a root cause of many of the diseases, because when you have inflamed gum, lot of the oral microbiome goes into your blood, causing many of the chronic diseases including Parkinson's, Alzheimer, and MS. So we are really looking at periodontitis. We're looking at insulin, because if you can reduce the insulin, not diabetes, it itself is independent factor in heart disease. So we're really thinking about what if we can do these things that will fundamentally change the trajectory of how
beautiful.
humanity is going to live. Right. So that's what
Beautiful.
we're doing, Sister Jenna.
I love it. I love it. Everyone, as you can see, Naveen Jain isn't just a passionate entrepreneur to impact change, but he's obsessed with it. You know, he's obsessed with seeing how can my life move the cursor, the precursor. How can I go one more step forward and make an impact in humanity? What if Viome actually becomes the game changer, where we actually find the strength and the courage to start to find better eating habits? We've already ordered our kits, Naveen. I can't wait to get started because not only is it my mom has dementia and me overcoming my health opportunity last year, but also other little things and my friends and family. I know there is a way. I know there's a cure. And it's not just, and I'm not knocking Western medicine, I know it's not just popping a pill to make me feel better. I know there's another way. Is there, just as we get to the close, is the approach from the traditional Western or Eastern medicine, are you seeing a change in how the
Yeah,
West approaches healthcare versus the East?
yeah. So, Sister Jenna, I think you pointed out very clearly here that in the West, when we look at the chronic diseases, our whole thing is about managing the symptom, not curing the disease. Because from our medical industrial complex, when you have a diabetes, you are a lifetime subscriber to them. You have an autoimmune disease, you're a lifetime subscriber to their biologics. They're looking at your lifetime subscriber. They don't want to take away the disease. So what they do is, when you have an autoimmune disease, they don't want to know what is causing it. You know what they do? Let's suppress your immune system so you don't feel the symptom. When you have a diabetes, let's not try to figure out you can do it. Let's give you the things to suppress the symptom that you have. So what Eastern medicine always did was to look at and saying, what lifestyle changes can you make to actually get rid of the root cause? And one of the things we realize, even in Ayurveda, the chronic inflammation is a root cause of chronic diseases, right? So we used to talk about in Ayurveda that it is Agni, or I don't remember the actual word, the Pitta or Kapha or one of those things that tells you that you have inflammation, and they'll tell you to take these things because you have this inflammation, right? And I think, to me, the Eastern medicine is a holistic medicine about fixing the root cause, where the Western medicine is about making you feel good now by suppressing the symptoms. So you say, oh, I took Advil, I don't have a pain anymore. Well, it hasn't taken away the pain. It's simply taken away the feeling that you don't have a pain.
I know, but I have to tell you, especially when I travel to India, Naveen Bhai, I
Yeah.
always come down with a flu, and I just take NyQuil while everybody else is taking some Ayurveda thing or some holistic pill. I'm like, just give me the
Yeah.
NyQuil so I can sleep tonight. We are
Yeah. And I think,
addicted. We are addicted to instant
yeah.
cures, but it's not the real
Yeah.
cure, really. Yeah.
No. And I think, Sister Jenna, the best way to get rid of not catching flu is to build your own immunity.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people you and I know, they just don't get sick. Why is it?
Yeah.
Because they built their immunity so the immune system can deal with these flu viruses.
That's true. That's true. I've learned that especially during this COVID particular season.
Yeah.
So, look, as we come to a close to our beautiful time together, and again, I know Veomi is going to be a game changer. I'm intuitive. I see things. It's because health is so important. We want to be healthier. What's the best website, if you can lead us to that, for us to gain more insights and what they can get from it?
Yeah, but Sister Jenna, this is very kind of you. I mean, I don't want to make this any infomercial, but the
It's
reason
not.
I say
It's
that
not an
this is what's going to
infomercial.
help. I want
It's
people
not an
to, I
infomercial
want,
because I am also interested in learning more about the better sense of taking care of our health. You see, spiritual awakening requires spiritual health and physical health.
yes,
If you're physically not
yes,
feeling well, it's very hard for you to be awakened and to stay awake spiritually. But if you
that's right.
can help somebody to become physically healthy, can you imagine their spiritual awakening?
Yeah.
Can you imagine the way
Oh
that
my
they
God,
would
Sister
live
Jenna.
and how they exactly?
Yes,
So
yes,
that's what
yes.
I'm talking about.
So, so Sister Jenna, they can go to Viome.com. That's, as you know, we as Indians cannot pronounce the word we. So it's V as in Victor, IOME.com. I know you're going to laugh at me, but I cannot say that. So it's
Viome.
V as in Victor.
V.
Yes. Bio. That's the one, the Sister Jenna. V as in Victor, IOME.com is where you go and you can learn more. And hopefully you sign up. And the good thing about Sister Jenna is, when you sign up, not only you get better, you contribute to the society, because your artificial intelligence gets better with every single person. So 300,000 people who came before you is what making you better. And as
Wow.
you add that to it, the next person who comes gets even better.
Congratulations. Thank you for that. So when you're
Thank you,
going to
sister.
space, when's your ticket booked?
Yeah, so Sister Jana, as soon as the Branson goes, and I'm going to also take probably a flight in the Bezos thing, and hopefully the Elon will take us to the around the moon, and one day we're going to land on the moon, and probably all of us will have a chance to be able to visit the moon, just like we visit Australia, right? And it's going to be just as
Wow.
much fun. And one day we're going to have in next 20 years, we're going to have a baby born on the moon and the other planet, and we're going to look down and saying, or look up for that matter, and look up the earth and say,
Wow.
we come from that planet.
You know what I'd love more than anything else is that as we go through all of this space stuff, and
Yeah,
can we bring down that compassion here? It's like such a need for interior compassion and generosity and respect and cooperation to make this earth such a nicer place to live on. It's just the shift of
Sister Jenna, you're
consciousness.
doing it every day. But Sister Jenna, you're doing it every day. So people like you are the real heroes here. I mean, the work you do to bring compassion, to bring spirituality, to bring the needed generosity into the community, and doing it so selflessly. I mean, this is to me is God's work. So God bless you, and I really hope you live for centuries to come, so that we can all continue to make this place healthier centuries to come.
Received, received, received. My sweet brother, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Sister Jana. Thank you.
Okay, everyone, are you all ready to get healthy, happy, obsessed with your success, move forward, explore the skies, go and think rather bigger than you could have ever imagined? Well, I'm sure you've taken something from my conversation with Naveen Jain today. There's a lot to pick from, a lot to pick from. We touched on the spirituality of things, we touched on science, we touched on business, we touched on life. I'm sure you must have loved it tremendously. Thank you for joining us today. Please be well and take care of yourself.